Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Popular Unknown Paintball Live, I guess. So I did a little math, and the actual last show that I broadcast for the Popular Unknown Paintball podcast was in May, and this is January. So we're looking at almost 2 years, I guess, of me not seeing you and you guys not seeing us, and it sucks. So welcome, and I'm glad to be back. It's not a whole lot going on. Oh, and Connor from Australia is my first guest, well, first official guest. So Connor, thank you for joining me. Welcome back. I actually have a really good friend that's going to join me in a second. I just wanted to say, for those that see this, thank you all so much for coming back. For everybody that's reached out over the last almost 2 years. I missed you all more than I could possibly admit. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't really have a plan. I'm just freaking winging it. Guys, I'm just so glad to be back. You have no idea. Anyway, I'm going to bring on my guest right now because I am stammering and stumbling like, I don't know, kid on first day of high school and just doesn't know what to do and doesn't know anybody. That's how I feel right now. So I'm going to bring on somebody that's near and dear to me, and he's going to help me get through this very first episode while I'm back. Technically, by the way, this is episode 76, just so you know. Mr. Fred.
What is going on, Steve?
You're here. You tell me, because I don't know.
A 2-minute monologue. You're making me look bad.
I always made you look bad, Fred.
Well, I got to tell you, buddy, it's good to have you back on live here. When you finally shut it down and we didn't see it, I stayed in touch with you every month. But, what was strange is just I was used to seeing you every week. Sometimes I was on, sometimes I would just watch you. And then all of a sudden, boom, you stopped.
Yeah.
It was, it was just a little bit weird for me because, I'm like a creature of habit. When I get used to something and I like something. Now, if it sucks, obviously, I'm a creature of habit the other way too.
Yep.
So, but I just kind of missed it. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, I stopped podcasting, not because I wanted to stop, but there were so many shows that were exactly like mine that had come out.
I disagree.
No. There was no, just listen. There was so many of them, and I'm not threatened by that, but I want to be better, and they helped drive me to try to be better over the course of COVID and everything like that. But then, because of COVID, there was a lot of financial things, and those of you that are close to me know what's going on. Those of you who aren't, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background. Fred knows everything, by the way, but my mom isn't the healthiest, and that's not something that I want to go into great detail. And she's actually doing really poorly today. So, but that being said, I wanted to get a job where I was making a lot of money or as much better money and try to get out of the debt that I acquired while I was, during COVID and everything, because that was a really difficult period for me. It just really was. And so I went to work at the factory, helping to build Chevy trucks, by the way. Love those things. And if you're a Ford guy, I'm sorry, but is what it is. And by the way, somebody just said there are no shows like me. Glad that they're back. Thank you very much, Facebook user. And I think Cheryl Ellis is floating around here somewhere, but it doesn't say Cheryl Ellis. But I got people saying he's back and hi.
I love Cheryl Ellis.
She's amazing, isn't she?
Well, what she is just she's electric. I enjoy talking to her. She's a kick in the pants. I call her gasoline, and all it takes is a match, and that chick is fired up, man.
Yeah. So, no, she's amazing. She's been doing a lot of work for John Amadea with Paintball.media.
Still does.
Absolutely. Where I started slacking off, she started picking up, and she does so much better than I ever did. Like, just I can't say enough fantastic things about her.
Hey, she's a lot better looking. No, I'll go there right off the bat.
There too.
Okay, cool. We agree on something. I like that. I like it. Good start. This is a good start. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, anyway, once I started working at the factory, the problem with the factory was I had to work 2 weeks days, 2 weeks nights, and there was no possible way for me to actually establish any sort of routine. Plus, they were making me work a lot of mandatory overtime. So I couldn't even plan days and times. Like it was just, ah. Oh, we got Weasel in the house.
I seen that. Yeah, I seen that.
And we got what's good but
Your
ballers.
little buddy. I seen a great picture. You put a picture of him and Amy up the other day, but there was snow behind them. So, I looked at the picture, but then I had to go put a jacket on because I just I like looking at the snow like that, but that's it. So
Hey, I don't like looking at the snow either. I just don't. And that's all I'm looking at it when I go outside. So yeah, so anyway, factory just kept me busy and I was losing time with my son. I was losing time with my paintballers. I was losing time with my friends, like everything. I didn't play paintball once in 2023. Not once.
wow.
Yeah. And
I played my share.
Pardon?
So I played my share. Did the WCPL tournament. It was pretty cool.
Nice. So we got Geo Magfed saying, well, he's alive. We got Danny Lazen, love her. We got Sean saying who found his microphone. Oh man, God, I missed all you guys so much. And by the way, just so you all know, if I'm off my game, that's why I brought the big gun in. That's why he's on the show. I needed moral support. I needed backup. I don't know how long this episode's gonna last.
Well, it better last next week again.
Oh no. We're back.
Okay.
I'm back. You've always been here.
Yep.
Well, I mean, there was that period where you took a break, but all I'm saying is my break wasn't intentional. It's just one of those life cycles that you get in a rut. And it was like right around New Year's. And it wasn't one of those stupid, oh, I'm going to make a New Year's resolution to bring the podcast back. It wasn't anything like that. It was the day after New Year's that just had this epiphany. And it's like, that's it.
Mm-hmm. But
I'm making life changes.
But you got to understand, Steve, sometimes when you take a break, it's just like anything that you do in life. It just, if it becomes a grind and you take a break, you actually start appreciating exactly what it was. And when you come back, it comes back in a whole different light.
Yep.
So
for over the last few weeks, I have been in hardware mode. I've got my new camera hooked up. It's not exactly where I need it to be, but it's getting there. I've got a brand new TV to go behind the camera so I can see you guys better. Because right now this camera is blocking all of me and all I can see is about a half of Fred's face. But I can still read all the clips going down the side. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I got a huge TV.
I know you do.
And I could see it that way without binoculars. Yeah. I love it.
And so my goal for this year, actually, Danny, you got to let me talk and start just firing questions in. Actually, what I was about to say is my goal for this year is to play as much paintball as I can, probably mostly local. I don't have the resources to jump borders at this time. But hopefully that will be changing in the very near future. It is a goal to get down south. That is a priority, but there's just stuff I got to do. That being beside the point, as soon as I get, I might actually be going to play MagFed for the first time this weekend. I don't know yet.
I had a MagFed show last night. What I'm doing, Steve, is once a month now, because these MagFed guys, they're still paintballers. It's just a little bit different version, but they are such nice guys, Steve. And so I've dedicated my show. I'm going to do once a month. I'm going to do a MagFed show, and I've got a couple guys. I've got Noah Herrick and Eder. He has a team, an Arizona team. And they have like 100 and some people on that team. So, MagFed is growing and I just like the people in it. I'm all about building paintball just like you are.
Yep. No,
and paintball and MagFed, they all intertwine with each other. These MagFed things, they shoot paintballs too. They call it
I
round ball.
I I
So
I agree with everything you're saying, but I do have a problem with MagFed. Everybody don't hate me because like I said, I want to go try it and I want to try it soon. My problem is, and Fred, I know that you've been around long enough that you can appreciate this. Do you remember in the early to mid 90s when they banned camouflage in all tournaments and they you couldn't have a marker that looked like a real gun and all of that
they
stuff and it
they
was just
tried all that, but
you
it just
couldn't
never really flew at all.
well no I get that but it just it's like I'm pre-programmed and then if you ask any Boonie boy they'll tell you one of the things that they did and the Boonie boys are who basically taught me how to play like
Mhm.
I didn't join until much later. I was always a practice dummy back in the 90s for them. We just all shared the same field and they kicked my ass up one side of the field, down the other. One of the things that they did was anything that was on their gun that could go wrong, they pulled it off. So if there was like a quick release valve on one of the stainless steel braided hoses that had like O-rings and stuff in, that came out and it was all hardwired in. Anything that could go wrong was removed if they could. Like they
Mhm.
just and when I look at them, and that's how I was taught how to play. So when I look at a mag fed gun, I see all these moving parts in the mag, and I see all the different mags that are going to be moving. I see
Yeah.
all the moving parts in the gun, and all the whole like I just I want to streamline everything, strip it down. Like I I'm
Well,
not against mag fed. It just goes against absolutely everything that I was trained to get up to this point. So
right.
I'm looking forward to giving it a try, but it's not my style at this time.
It just had, what it has, Steve, is it's a different skill set, because obviously you got magazines, and most of them are 10, 20 rounders. So when you shoot those up, it's not like you got 500 rounds in your hopper, the size of a case of paint, and you're just, spraying and praying. You kind of have to pick your shots. And what they talked about a lot was they practice, because when the one magazine comes off, another one's got to go on or you're dead in the water. And when you got guys coming in after you, you're going to want to change that stuff real quick. And Sean, I'd love to get up to Canada and play some paintball with you guys. And I'm looking forward to it. I really would like to do Wasaga Beach.
Oh, you have no idea how amazing
And
that is.
yeah, oh no. Donna Langdon, I think that's her name.
Yep.
Yeah, she I wanted to talk to her when we were at World Cup this time, but I heard she was there, but I didn't get a chance. I was like a one-legged man in a butt kicking contest, or I was very, very busy. So,
Yeah, and
but
that's one of my beefs against World Cup. I mean, I love World Cup, don't get me wrong, because everybody's there.
I understand
But
what you're
that's the
talking about,
problem.
though.
Everybody's there.
Yeah, yeah. That's why we started the WCPL, and Tommy Cole and I, we go back 30 some years.
Oh yeah.
Tommy Cole and I are very, very good friends. As a matter of fact, Tommy is a member of my team, the band, also. And you know about the band. So
Yes, I'm
yeah,
aware.
yeah. And so anyhow, Tommy's a member of that. So what he has done for paintball, I think, is fantastic. It just is we have a different venue. You get into woods ball, Steve. Anybody can go play woods ball, but not anybody can go. Well, I guess anybody could go play X ball, but you're going to get the heck shot out of you. Okay, so but anybody can go play woods ball and actually have a chance. You can be tall, short, fat, skinny, slow, fast. And guy, girl, it just doesn't matter. You can go out and play woods ball, and that's kind of why we started WCPL. And it wasn't at all to compete against Tommy and the NXL or the ICPL
Oh no.
or any of that. It's just to give people a different venue. And we just like the old times, Steve. I don't know if you remember, we used to do the tournaments, and we'd have a players' party. We'd have a meet and greet where everybody got together and sat and talked and had a good time. Then we'd all have a dinner together, a big, huge dinner. It was just, it was like a family reunion type of a deal, and that's kind of what we're trying to bring back in our own little way, in our own
Yeah,
little way.
no. I totally get it. I mean, I was talking to Marcus and Kevin and all of them when the WCPL was just getting started. Like I remember. Like and I think it's an amazing idea. And the thing that I like about WCPL is that it's small.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's intimate.
Like to keep it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you look at the old magazines, and I'm talking to people out there, not you specifically, Fred, because I know you know, but everybody else out there, if you look at the older magazines and you look at the tournaments, we were lucky if we got 30 teams. Like it was like, I mean, local events and small, like not like the big, massive NXL and stuff that happens now, which is awesome. I am not in any way, shape, or form putting it down. But there was just something really nice about going in, knowing the players you were going to play against, being able to have a camaraderie, even if you hated them. You know what I mean? There was just that. I don't know.
What you're talking about is absolutely true, because if it wasn't for paintball, would I know Steve McGuire? Probably not. Would Steve McGuire know me? Probably not. And so many
I don't know,
people,
man. You're a pretty bright light. I'm pretty sure I know you.
so many people that I've got to meet. Some of my very, very best friends are paintballers. Bud Orr, Tim Schloss, Dan Colby. It's just it's absolutely a cool thing. And like you said, when you go to some of these tournaments, you will see the people that you normally would not see through the course of the year. That's the only time you get to see them, is because you guys are going to play paintball against each other or with each other. So that's, to me, that's a big part of paintball. And that's a big driving force to me for paintball, and for people that are in paintball to try to get more people into the sport, because it's just really not only a good sport, there is a lot of good people in this sport.
Oh, absolutely. And the community. Like by the way, if anybody wants to fire out questions to me, I've been gone for a very long time. Feel free to ask away. The worst I'm going to tell you is none of your damn business. But, just feel free to fire them out there if you want to. Yeah, I have no plans for tonight's show. I really don't. I just go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I do my show every week, I know what the guests are, but I don't know what I'm going to ask them. I don't have a clue. The only thing I know is I do a readout of guys that I think should be mentioned every week, because what they did to make paintball what paintball is today. I mention them. And then after that, it's just like you just shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
If you're stuck, Cheryl, nobody's going to watch.
I'm wearing an extra large, just so you know, Cheryl. I'll be honest. When I do my shows, I really like having a set guest. And I'll tell you all one of my favorite secrets. What you can't see is that right there is a giant whiteboard. And when I have a guest on, I will say, okay, I want to know about this. I want to know about this. I want about this. I want about this. And it's one of the reasons why I look professional, is because if I have a spot where there's a lull in the conversation, or if there's, I don't know, things start going way off topic and I've got a specialized guest, I can look at that whiteboard and I can say, hey, and I can just pull things back around and just sort of keep it going. I don't have a set plan, but I try to have backup so that it's not like,
yeah. Well, you know what I do is I just listen to what they're talking about, and I just pick segments out of what they're talking about. Like, I had the MagFig guys on. So we started talking about the loaders, the magazines and stuff like that. So I dive into the magazines. Then the magazines went to, how does the magazine work? Then we dove into that, then the special thing that they made, because they have to crank the spring to load the magazine, because there's a spring that pushes everything, obviously up into it. So, it just, one thing leads to another. And when you got good guests on, they'll actually throw you the softball. And it's just up to you to hit it out of the park.
You'll forgive me, Fred, if I don't take that much from you, because your monologue takes the first 33% of your show, like right off the bat. And then after that, you gotta get that 10 minutes of your own story in. And then you got to make sure that the show is shut off right at an hour. If you watch my shows, my monologues are at the beginning are under 5 minutes, and I've gone 2.5 hours before. So our show, I respect the snot out of you, but our
I
shows are
could
not the same.
I could run with all my guests. I got to tell you, I could run into midnight with a lot of them.
Oh, I know.
What I try to do is I just try to keep it in my hour time frame so that people don't get just kind of overamped with everything, and it just kind of makes them want to wait till next week to see what's going to happen next week also.
He's
And my monologue, half of it consists of the guys, mentioning
no, no, no.
Jim Lively,
Hey,
those guys. So
everybody that's watching right now knows exactly who you are and has watched your show. So everybody knows that I'm just yanking your chain. But
oh
that
yeah,
being
and you're
said,
good at it too.
I fully believe that what you just said is all crap. You need your snacks and you need your naps. So that's why it's cut to an hour.
I got. Oh man, I just had to look, make sure my hammock wasn't showing. Yeah, you're right there. Yeah, it's I'm glad you came back because when I first came back into paintball, you were one of the first guys, other than Freddie the ref. Keith Kissel. He hooked me up with Freddie and Keith Kissel. He's a friend of mine. He actually hooked me up when I got. He's one that I actually came back into paintball.
He's actually listening.
No way, listening.
He's here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure when I'm done now, his hat won't fit, because his head will swell. But he's the one that actually got me back into it. And when I got back into it, I went on Freddie's, and then he's the one that actually hooked me up with you, Steve. And I when he told me about you, we watched a couple of your shows before I actually went on there, and I was pretty excited to be on there. To be
Well, thank
honest
you. I
with you,
appreciate that.
I was very excited to be on there. And then
somebody said,
how would I know that in the future you were going to be burning my monologue? How would I know that?
Hey, just remember, all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, somebody said the Bros do an hour, and the Bros are an amazing show, by the way. But they're on, at least last time I remember. I haven't seen it in a while. I got to admit to everybody, my head has been pretty.
Bros?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on today, but Wednesday, they're on in the morning. Noon. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, noon my time. So
yeah, noon their time, like 9, 10 in the morning. Keith Kissel, the guy I was just talking about, Kiko Man, he watches all of these. So what he does is he'll critique them, and then he'll tell me, yeah, this guy said this, and this guy's pretty good, or this guy said this, and this guy's pretty good, or this guy sucks, and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, no.
Rob Walker. Now, Rob Walker, he's a band member. You know that.
I see. You make that a point to tell me every band member that exists.
You're freezing up.
Never
Steve.
Asked me yet.
You froze up, my friend.
Oh, did I?
I don't know if anybody can hear me, but
I can hear you great.
You're froze up, Steve, and you're. I don't know. Your voice is kind of tweaking, but Ryan Freeman's on there. And I got to tell you, Ryan Freeman is one of the cool guys. Ryan Freeman, if you don't know him, you're going to want to get to know him because he's one of the stand-up guys. He's one of those guys, Steve, that I think is good for the sport of paintball.
Oh, absolutely. Can you hear me yet?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but I liked you better when I couldn't. But go ahead.
I actually know Ryan very well. Ryan was my coach when I played with Destiny Midwest. The very first time I played at the NXL in Chicago, right before COVID came.
Oh, right. Yeah, he watches my show every week, and I'm not saying that he's great because of that, but what he does is he has enough. Let me see. How do I want to put this? Very rare do I get stuck for words, but him and a guy named Paul Farrell and Stephen Snow and Steven Sanich, I can't pronounce his name, Gumby. These guys are the best of the best. And Jessica Cortez, she jumps on my show every week.
Yep.
These people
from Hawaii.
Exactly right. And what they do is they just take the time to jump on to let you know that they're thinking about you. Now, if that doesn't mean something to you, then you have no reason whatsoever to even be on the air, to even talk about anything about paintball. Because these people, if they take the time out of their life to jump on and let you know that they like what you're doing, they're thinking about you, to me, that is more special than anything. And Ryan, and Paul Farrell and these guys, they're the best of the best. And that's just how I feel about them, period.
Oh no, absolutely. Actually, there's something I want to show about Ryan here. I want to give him and his stuff a quick plug because he's got some pretty cool things, and I'd actually like to get him on the show later. All right, so I'm on his Facebook page, and of course, I can't actually find it what I'm looking for. But I guess just show this. Yeah, there's what we'll do. So hold on one second. Let me just see if I can. You know what? I give up. I've forgotten how to use most of it. But Ryan actually has a company called Dreamy, and it was in honor or partnership with a good friend of his that passed away in, I want to say 2020, and it's like a cloud happy face
Correct.
that he's pushing, and it's pretty. It's a really amazing thing. So if you guys get the chance, reach out to Ryan Freeman and ask about his Dreamy gear. I mean, it's not quite as nice as that Stronghold T-shirt that you're wearing or my Stronghold hat.
Let me.
I gotta say that Ryan's stuff is pretty amazing. I like watching it as it crosses my screen.
So Stronghold stuff, you know. Let me butt in for a minute here because I'm going to blow both our horns for a second.
Okay.
Before Steve went underground and turtled on us, crawled back into his shell, he suggested to me, he says,
I'm never going to hear the end of that, am I?
Well, I'll make you a truce on the monologue thing. But anyhow,
no.
So we were talking one time and, not on the air, but off the air. And he goes, we should start a shirt show. I mean, a shirt company. And I said, yeah. And he came up with the name Stronghold. And I just absolutely loved it. I thought, what a great name. So then we came up with this. Let me see if I can stand up again. Anyhow, Global Productions. And it says, passion drives us. And these shirts, I had 100 of them made. And I was going to sign them all. And what I did was I've still got, I gave
a majority of them.
I gave a couple out for, to help people out for charities and things like that. But I still have a bunch of these things. So I think what's going to happen now is when Steve kind of went underground, we kind of dropped the ball on it. But I think we're going to start rolling the ball again here pretty soon and start putting some of this stuff out there.
Yeah. And one of our major complications, though, too, was the fact that I live in a different country. And so it makes for taxes and shipping and everything like that. It made it for a really, really complicated. So I apologize to everybody for the delay in that, but it was something else.
I can ship stuff to Europe cheaper than I can to Canada.
Yep.
Is that wild or what?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was even considering, going up to Washington and throwing it over the border and having you on the other side, but
they're flying drones across the Great Lakes to transport stuff back and forth right now. Most of it's not legal, but I'm just saying.
Well, all we care about is clothes.
there's clothes. There's not clothes. There's drones flying back and forth, like just across the water, carrying big packages.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what we'll have to do it.
Robert Hampson says he's got an autographed Stronghold shirt.
Yep.
And there's a few people that I felt I just felt compelled to send them one. Number 53. Wow. Yeah, I just felt, you know how it is, Steve. Some people, they rub you the right way and you just want to do something for them. Period. Because remember, we were going to sell these and do all kinds of things, and it's got a tag inside. So only so many of these are out now, Robert. So I've still got all the rest of them here. We have not sent them out. So, and I got them packaged up over here. You got one, and I think I sent one to your son.
Yeah,
I sent one to Jeff up there from the Booney Boys.
Yep.
So very few of those did I send out because after you went underground, they became something even more special to me than when we first started the darn thing, So I'm looking forward to revamping it again, getting back out there. We're doing it.
Absolutely. And I still want OGAF. I want that shirt made. I know you're kind of rubs the wrong way a little bit, but I want that made.
Yeah. Right on. Well, you came up with this design. I thought this design was absolutely terrific, and the name Stronghold for the company I thought was something else that was terrific too. So
Kind of makes me think of that whole hold fast, like with sailors, like that stronghold, hold fast, like it just that, you just dig your heels in, don't give an inch, like just stick up for what you believe in.
I always do. I was a sailor too. So
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
that I didn't know.
yeah. Well, now you do. USS Shasta.
Nice.
So,
Well, thank you for your service.
but I never heard
Oh,
of it.
sorry. But yeah, Paul Hilmer says I want two double XL 18 and 97, but I never heard or got wind of it. Good to know what happened. Well,
Yeah, I have the book over here. I actually have a bunch of them packaged up over there. But when you had to go underground, I kind of shut everything down, and I sent them to a few people that like I said, a few people that just kind of struck me the right way. And Paul, got nothing to do with you because of I should have sent you one too, but I did
right.
do it.
Well, we'll figure it out. So Cheryl's
Okay,
got a
so
good
go
question
ahead.
for you. It says hosting a show can make your audience feel like they know you because they see you all of the time, but that doesn't actually go both ways. Can you guys share a story of an awkward interaction with a viewer? Um,
I came
yes,
with Steve. Steve always give me trouble about my. No, go ahead.
yes, I can. Um, I forget if I where it was I was specifically heading, but I had a young kid come up to me. And when I say young kid, I'm going to say early teens. He wasn't like a single digit midget or anything like that, but just early teens. And he asked me to sign his Nintendo Switch case because I was wearing my popular known podcast jersey, and I was sitting in an airport, and I didn't see anybody and this kid came up to me. He goes, "Do you watch the show or see?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "You're him." And I, out of the blue, somebody I'd never talked to, never seen, never heard of, haven't seen or heard from since, asked me for an autograph. And that was, I don't want to call that awkward, but it was definitely a strange moment. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was flattering. I don't regret it for a minute. I loved it, but that was something I wasn't expecting.
I can't tell you how many autographs I signed. You probably wouldn't even believe me.
Oh, I'd believe
But
you.
I'll tell you a real good story. Okay. Now you know what the Make a Wish Foundation is, right?
I've heard of it. Yep.
Okay. Anyhow, make a long story short, years ago, I get a call from this lady, and she tells me her name. She goes, I have a son, and he has some kind of disease. I can't remember what it was. It, uh, when I tell you this story, I did not know for 10 years how this lady got my phone number, but come to find out it was Keith Kissel that hooked me up with her. So anyhow, she calls me and she goes, I have a son and he's not doing very good and he's not expected to live for a very long time. And yeah, and she says his big wish is if he could get an autographed picture of you. And I asked her what's wrong, and she told me at the time. And so I asked her, I says, well, who's his doctor? So she actually gave me his doctor's name. So, I got a lot of smoke blowing up my butt back in the day. So I kind of checked on everything. So
Yep.
anyhow, make a long story short, I call the doctor. The doctor goes, yes, he has this disease and it's not a good disease. He didn't grow. He was kind of short. So I call the lady back and I ask her, I go, can he come down to my field, Mare Island? I says, sometime next week. And she goes, oh my God. She goes, he can't drive, but his friend can bring him down. Would that be okay? And I go, that would be perfect. So we set it up for Thursday, Steve. So I called Tim Schloss. I found out what size he was. I called Tim Schloss. Tim sent me the exact tiger stripe camouflage that I wear. Got him a pair of Digger shoes. I called Tom K. Tom K sent me a special auto mag for him. David Bell sent me the loader. To make a long story short, everything that I wore, these guys, my sponsors, sent me out within 3 days. I had everything here. Well, the kid shows up, right? And so he gets out of the car and he's just he doesn't know what to say. He's just like, oh my God. So anyhow, so I talked to him for a few minutes and I asked him, I says, how would you like to go out? And I says, being away a little bit with me. And he goes, oh, he goes, that would be a dream. But he goes, I've got nothing. So anyhow, we took him over to the trailer. They took him in a trailer. They dressed him up and they come out. We're actually, him and I are both on the cover of Paintball Sport magazine together. Jerry Braun gave me the cover shot for him and I too also. So
I've
anyhow, make a long
probably
story short.
seen the magazine, and I
Yep.
probably would recognize the cover if I saw it, because I had them all up until whatever, and then they got lost in the divorce.
Yeah, we took and so we went out, we played all day, and then he went home, and I went home, obviously. And his mom called me up that night, and she was just bawling. She could not believe that her son actually came up there and had a time like that. And he took all the stuff that I got from my sponsors, he took it all home. So and whether he ever played again, I don't know. I kept in touch with him for a little while, and it just kind of stopped. And I believe that he passed away at that time. So
Wow, that
that
sucks.
yeah, it did suck. But the point being is we had a great time that day, and it was something that he never dreamed of. So just like
Actually,
the kid that signed your thing like that, you know, I've signed I've signed a hood of a guy's truck. He wanted my letters. You think I'm kidding you, but I'm
no,
not.
I know you're not.
Letters this big across the hood of his beautiful yellow truck. He wanted my name, Fred Schultz, and I signed it across the hood of his truck.
I'm gonna throw this out. I'm gonna see what you think of this, and it's kind of along the lines of what Cheryl was asking about awkwardness. I think that the single greatest gift that doing this show, especially in the paintball community, is that it allows you and I to connect with so many people, so many great, fantastic people, and it just makes our lives so much better and richer and amazing. The caveat to that, though, is you've got all these amazing people that keep stacking on top of each other that you don't have as much time to spend with as you'd really, really like to. And what's even worse is, and I don't know about you, but for me, every month I'm hearing about somebody that I thought was absolutely amazing and pivotal and somebody I loved to meet and talk to on like passes away.
Yeah,
And
I
so
know.
now I've got this amazing group of people coming in, but I'm seeing so many amazing people leave the planet too. And
Well, they
it's
are, but
worth it. I'm not complaining, but it's in answer to Cheryl's question. It's something that unless you're in this position, like you and I, you can't appreciate how much of a double-edged sword this community is and how like I will never shut myself off from the community. I like everybody too much, and life happens, and I get that. And I do apologize for disappearing for the last year and a half, but that was life happening. But I never gave up. I was still buying like the new camera that I've got and the stand that it's on and the new TV that's going to go up. Like, I mean, I was still working. I always knew that this day was going to come happen. I wasn't expecting it to take this long, but I knew it was never over. It was just delayed.
right. Well, just building a little bit on what you just said, you don't have time for everybody, but you got a little bit of time for somebody. And when you take if you say something, and let's say that Paul Hilmer, he says, "Wow, that was a pretty cool idea." So Paul will go tell somebody maybe that doesn't play paintball, and what happens is that guy's going to get interested and say, you know what? Maybe I'd like to try this. Maybe I'd like to go out with Paul and bang away a little bit. That's how you build paintball. And one thing about being popular, and I can say this, not bragging or anything like that, but I back in the day, it was a joke how popular I was. I couldn't go. I actually had bodyguards at tournaments to keep people away. It was that bad. And when I would go out and I would do stuff, I got the cover shots, I got the TV shows, all because I worked my ass off and went to these places and worked hard to get to them. And that I got half the people that loved to meet me, and the other half the people that absolutely hated me, that never got to know me. A big blowhard because his picture's on the cover here. And I never asked for any of the covers. The cover shots all were asked for me. The television show, I worked my butt off for the television show. And who did it? Who did it really publicize? They publicized Tipman, Air America, Vents Goggles, Smart Parts, all my sponsors. I had all my sponsors and everything there. It was all them. Then people don't ever realize that, and this is one thing Marcus Davis and I had a talk a long time ago. To become popular, all you have to do is be nice and straight to people. And if you're nice and straight to people, you end up riding that wave. It's such a simple philosophy to do. And that's what, I was sitting there, Marcus and I, because Marcus and I, we go back a lot of years,
Yeah,
awful lot
you
of
do.
years. And we were sitting by the pool one time over in England, and I was just sitting by the table, and he comes walking up and he sits down with me, and we're talking and stuff like that. And he goes, Fred, I want to be the next Fred Schultz of England. What does it take to do that? And I just flat out told him, I said, all you got to do is be nice to people. I said, period. I said, you're nice to people. I said, this is going to happen. I said, you're a jerk. You're going to get your 15 minutes of fame, and then nobody will remember you next month. Real simple.
Got that right.
Yeah. And when I met up with him again in New York, not this year, because he was there this year too, but last year, he came up to me, and that's the first thing that he started talking about. Him, Bud Orr, and Tim Schloss and I were sitting there, and he goes, because Tim goes, boy, he says, you really made it big over there in England. And he goes, yep, because I got some great advice from a very popular guy here. And Tim goes, oh yeah, what was that? And he goes, just be nice and be good to people. That's all it is.
That's kind of how the whole name of my podcast came to be. A lot different scenario, same backstory, same kind of thing. By the way, before just to change subject, just for a brief second, this guy here, Eli, just so you know, he is the main guy behind the Airsoft and Paintball Association of Ontario.
Oh, very cool.
When you're talking about nice guys, he's based out of Ottawa. When you're talking about nice guys specifically in Canada and Ontario, this guy right here. So if you're ever looking for a guest or he reaches out to you.
Yeah, Eli, hit me up. I would love to put you on because, that's the same reason I'm putting like the MagFed and stuff on, it all involved with paintball. And the more we spread out, the more people are going to get involved. And, they might play MagFed this weekend and go play roundball is what they call it, and go play paintball the next weekend. It's just, it's all a building process. And right back, if you want to be popular, help build the sport, work hard at it, and it'll happen, period.
You know what? I hate the term grow the sport. That term irritates me to no end because it's too much of a catchphrase. It's too much of a something you can hide behind. It's too much of a, I don't know, an internet thing. Like you actually grow the sport. There's nobody in paintball that has grown paintball more than you specifically. You are the single greatest paintball ambassador that this sport has ever seen. It's not that I don't agree with growing the sport. I just hate it when everybody's like, oh yeah, grow the sport. And you see every schmuck, Dick, and Harry just saying, oh yeah, grow the sport. And then they are talking smack,
lip service
fights. Exactly.
Lip service. Yeah.
But all you see is grow the sport on Facebook and Instagram and blah, blah, blah.
Let me give you a really good example of that, Steve, is, Oliver Lang, Ryan, all those guys, the dynasty.
We're talking about dynasty players, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oliver Lang, Oliver White Cloud Lang. Yeah. He calls himself White Cloud now, but Oliver Lang, and
to me,
all
he's
of
just
those
Ollie.
guys. Yeah, he is to me too. Him and I we're very good friends. Alex Frazier, Eric Crandall, all those guys. Those guys are the epitome. They started on my field back in the day.
Yes,
they were just a bunch of little shits. period. And no, they'll admit it.
I've
No,
heard
no.
all the stories.
Oh
The
God,
ones
I
that
mean,
nobody talks about.
I was no angel. We all had a good time back in the day. It was the old Wild West, believe me. But
Yes, it
those guys
was.
were that way. But now look at them today. They're not only the top-notch players in the world, but off the field, they are so compassionate and so nice and so friendly to everybody. It's unbelievable. And I can always say, if you're the best player in the world and you come off the field, you're swearing and you're yelling, calling the other guy a cheater. If there's people sitting there that don't play paintball that are thinking about getting into it and they see that, they're going to go, screw this. We don't want nothing to do with this sport. But they see people coming off after a good hard game, acting civilized and being decent, they're going to want to try it. That's how you build paintball.
I agree with you 1000%. Although my experience with Dynasty and your experience with Dynasty are very different. Whenever I've been around a Dynasty camp, and no offense to anybody on Dynasty, you guys are the single greatest paintball team that has ever existed. Like that is Dynasty. They are their record, their consistency, everything speaks for themselves. But when I show up anywhere near them just to try to say hi, with the exception of Yosh, I pretty much get completely ignored by the whole team. But you know who treats me who treats me super nice? And I'm not saying this to try to plug anything. I'm not putting Dynasty down. They are amazing. Houston Heat doesn't give the respect they deserve. Like, I've been around.
They're a great team.
Like, absolutely. But when I've been around the guys with Houston, like Ronnie Dizon and Moorhead and like all of them, like they welcome me in. Like, it's like they treat me like I'm part of the team without being part of the team. Like, don't get me wrong. If it's the minute they're about ready to go on the field or something like that, they're like, and everybody should know this, by the way. If you are going to a paintball tournament and you are trying to meet a professional paintball player, they don't have time for you when they're gearing up to go on their field. They're getting in the zone, they're getting in their headspace, and they want to win. And they got to tune everything out, and that includes you and me and Fred. You have to appreciate, if you go up to them at a tournament, they don't have time if they're getting ready to go on the field. So if they seem to act a little less friendly, it's because they're trying to get in a zone. And so don't hold that against any paintball player right before they're going on the field, because I've heard some people complain about that.
That's absolutely true. And I mean, Yosh only lives 10 blocks from me. I mean, Yosh just lives down the street. So I've been friends with these guys for a long time. These guys, and I just like the way they treat people now. Back in the day, because I was one of the first professional players, period, that was out there. Yes. And, Constant Pursuit, the Ironman, we all played professional, the All-Americans, Tommy's Bad Company, Tommy Cole's Bad Company. We all were professionals back in the day. And Steve, you'd come off the field sometime and there was always kids there that wanted to talk to you. I never, ever turned anybody down to talk to them. If I was going on, I'd tell them, hey, I'll be back in a minute. And then when I came off, I'd talk. And there was a lot of guys back in the day that had their heads so far up their butt that they thought because they were called a professional that they didn't stink, and they would shine these kids on and not have any time for them. Those guys died out so fast it wasn't even funny.
Oh, you're not wrong.
Yeah, and that's right back to my theory again. Be nice to people,
Yep.
How would you like to be treated? You'd like to be treated nice, right?
Oh, I do. Like,
right. But that's how you should treat people then.
Absolutely.
Especially guys with long monologues,
No.
Yeah, I knew.
Just no.
I just thought I'd slide that in there.
It was worth an effort, but
no. I gave it a shot.
No, there was, but I just brought that up because just while we were talking about how it's teams treated, I didn't want people to think that just because you're trying to talk to somebody, if it's a pro team or like any paintball team for that matter, that's getting ready to go out, they're getting ready to do their job, for lack of a better word. And
that's right.
If you're going to compete, you've got to be in the right head sense. And
yep.
So don't don't hold it against anybody if, but it's after a game. If everybody's just sort of sitting around and you sort of show up, I mean, don't expect them to be.
Yeah, I'll give you a real quick story. We were at the World Cup this year, and I've got friends, Tim F. and them guys. He's a detective for the New York Police Department. Okay, well, the NYPD had come to the World Cup to play a 5-man. So they were there. So Tim comes up to me, and I've been friends with Tim now for a couple of years. And he came up to me and he goes, Fred, he goes, I would love to meet Oliver Lang. He says, but he says, we can't get anywhere near him. He goes, is there any way you could take me up and introduce me to him? And I said, yeah, I can. I said, but he says, they're having their team meeting right now. I said, before they're getting ready to go play. I said, so give me about 10 minutes. So the 10 minutes went by. The guys ended up their meeting. And I says, hey, Ollie, you got a second? He comes over and gives me a hug. I introduced him to the police guys. They all took pictures with them. And
Right.
we all took pictures together. They gave them detective badges, New York police badges. I got a couple of them here. The point being is those guys were so happy to meet him, and he took the time to go meet them. They couldn't get in because they didn't have the badges and stuff I had, but I did. I just told them, I said, just walk through and look important like I do. And then we all walked through. It was pretty cool. They were all cracking up. They were all nervous. These guys are all cops. I was the only one not nervous. So, but, the point being is Oliver took the time after I asked him to come over and meet these guys, took the time to come and hang with them. And, Oliver North and he's a band member too. You know that, right?
I know that every single person that you talk about is a band member except me.
But Ollie isn't. So is Alec Frazee. Alec Frazee is also a band member. So just what it's worth, I just you never know.
I got two funny stories for you. That's
okay.
in the same vein. So obviously Rocky Cagnoni, like that's just a given. Everybody knows Rocky. So at the last ICC before, and that's Iron City Classic, by the way, for you, before it got rolled into the WCPL and whatnot. But the last standalone ICC event, I had to go talk whatnot, and I saw Rocky, and I hadn't talked to him for a while. And I don't want to use the word friends because Rocky barely knew me back in the 90s. He was traveling all over, but we did stuff together and we hung out a little bit in Montreal and in Toronto at Skyball, things like that. So we knew each other, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that we were close back then, but we've known each other for a very long time. Anyway, at the ICC, I went to talk to him and I went, hey, Rock. And he just sort of was, oh, good. And he grabbed me by the sweater and he pulled me in. He goes, come with me. And I'm like, all right. He goes, I got to go to the bathroom so bad. And if I'm talking to you, people will leave me alone. But so just walk me to the porta potties so I can take a crap in peace. I'm like, yeah, you got it. And so we're walking along. He's like, can't talk right now. We'll be right back. And Rocky's like, probably there may be nicer people in paintball than Rocky, but I don't know them. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of people are as nice as Rocky, but I don't know anybody that's nicer than Rocky. Do you know what I mean?
He's actually going to come on my show in a couple of weeks here. He was going to come on a couple of weeks ago, but he was out playing and he ran into this low-hanging item, and screwed up his neck. Because when we were at the World Cup, him and Ed Portman were sitting there, right? And they're sitting there watching the games, and I just snuck up behind him, and I'm standing there going, God, don't I know you guys? And he turns around like this and he goes, oh my God, Fred Schultz. And he jumps up and he's trying to hug me. And we're trying to take a picture. And he's like a robot because he's got that neck brace and shit on. So,
he just had I think a hernia thing that just happened too. Like he's had like multiple surgeries in the last little bit. But he's having a really rough go.
Yeah, the neck thing, he was playing paintball and he ran into something low. It just wrenched his neck. So
did you see the new dark drops that he's put out? He's had 2 dark drops now. One was a tech t-shirt, and then the last one that just came out the other week was their hats.
Yeah. I jump on Facebook and I check the people that chime into me and stuff like that. And I really don't, it's just mostly my friends I talk to. A lot of stuff, I get Keith Kissel. He's the guy. Kiko, man, he'll go like, "Oh, Freddie, did you see this?" Like, I'm like, "No." He goes, "Oh, Freddie, did you see this?" I'm like, "No." And then he'll tell me all about that stuff.
My last
So,
story
but I
for
haven't
you,
seen it.
after you were talking about badges,
Yeah.
is first time I met Jennifer Montresor. Have I told you about that?
No. Go ahead.
Okay.
First
So
time I met her was on your show.
yeah. So Jennifer Montresor, obviously, for those of you that aren't fully aware, was the mother of Tim Montresor, the immortal number 40. I guess immortal is a bad word, and I do apologize for using it the way I did. But anyway, yeah, the joys of being live. Anyway,
you got to think 15 seconds ahead like I do. Go ahead.
Yeah. The only reason why you have all the ability to talk the way you do is because you take all that time in the monologue to plan everything else.
That's it. And plus, I
Anyway.
don't sleep at night. Go ahead.
So it was World Cup, the one that happened right after Tim's passing.
Mhm.
And I found out that she was there, and we were texting away because we really wanted to meet each other. After Tim's passing, her and I talked a fair amount, and I was really excited to see her. And she goes, "Oh, I'm in the VIP tent." And I said, "Oh, okay, well, I don't have a VIP pass, but I'll come see you." And so I headed that way, and she comes charging out. She grabs me. She goes, "Come with me." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't have a pass." And she's like, "Don't worry about it." And she's like pulling me along. And the guy that guards the VIP booth is like, "Ah," and she just sort of looked at him and just deadpan stared at him. He's like, "Just go on through."
Yeah, we've become since I met her on your show, because remember, she told me that Tim, as he was getting into paintball, they had bought him my video, The Fun
Yep.
of Paintball, or Fred Schultz, and he watched it so many times it became grainy. They had to buy him a second video of mine to watch. So I know about two of them for sure. But ever since then, Steve, Jennifer and Frank and I have become extremely good friends. My
Yeah.
wife just loves Jennifer.
Yeah, they're
We have a
amazing.
great. They are. We have a great time together. They're kicking the pants. They really are. Frank. We finally got Frank out of his shell, so he's funny as hell now. So,
Isn't he?
yeah,
He's a riot.
he is. So we have a
Hi,
good time.
Facebook user. Nice to meet you. I'm not sure who you are because it just says Facebook user, but
I get a ton of them guys on my show too. Got it. Half of them I know who they are, and the other half are Facebook user, unless you're on the phone. Now, if you're looking on your phone, you can see who it is.
yes. Yeah.
I
And
don't know why on the computer.
I
Unless
could
it's
do
because
that,
it's
but
StreamYard.
today I just don't seem to care. Normally I would run something on the side. Oh, it's like, oh, somebody said that's Jennifer. So we were just talking about Jennifer.
Oh, really?
Oh, God. Anyway, she's amazing.
Yeah, she is. If you're
So I'm
watching,
glad
Jen,
you're following
show some
along,
love.
Jen. I beg your pardon?
I told Jennifer, I said, if you're watching, show some love. She's a
she
sweetheart.
always does. She doesn't usually get a chance to watch
she
the
gets
show.
up at 4 a.m. That's why.
She
gets up at 4 a.m. to go to work.
Yeah. So normally she'll watch the shows after the fact the next day.
Yep. That's like Gino, from Belkin. Gino watches my show every week. Sometimes he watches it live. Sometimes he watches it at 5 o'clock the next morning. He's up banging away at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And he'll turn it on. And then he'll get a hold of me and critique it, Oh, man, it was cool you were talking about this. It was cool you were talking about that. So
isn't it weird how people actually, like, when I vanished to try to get life back in order, so many people reach out, when's the next show? And God bless all of you for asking me that. Like, I can't even begin to tell everybody how demoralizing it was to step away. It had to be done. It was like, the only way I could describe it is like cancer. I don't have cancer, knock on wood. but it was like that. There was stuff going on, and you have to make an incision to get it out, so to speak. And nobody wants an operation. Like, nobody wants that. It's just something I had to do. So that's why I took my break for a bit. But it wasn't cancer, just had to take care of life stuff. But everybody reaching out, especially you, everybody reaching out constantly, just like, where are you? When you coming back? We miss you. Like, thank you all so much. So sorry,
Well, you're back now.
I am. Well, you see, I never really left. It's just had to hide.
You never left, but we just couldn't see you for a year and a half. I guess that'll work.
Yeah. Oh, somebody's saying Leprechaun 2.0 this year. No, that won't happen. I don't think. Actually, maybe it will. By the way, if you don't know what that is, Fred, that was from one of my most famous shows with my close group of friends. Was my St. Patrick's Day special, and where I had Connor from Australia, I had Rob Hansen from Chicago, and I had Matt from Sudbury, Ontario, and myself. And it was St. Patrick's Day. It was Wednesday, and anytime that one of the people said Leprechaun on the show, be it us or even somebody scrolling in things, everybody had to take a drink. Connor got really polluted. Hansen got really polluted. And Matt was so polluted, I don't think he made work the next day. So if you ever see on their show and you see somebody say Leprechaun, that's a throwback to St. Patrick's Day 2020, I think, maybe 2021. But regardless, it was epic.
It's a good time. I see Kathy Alvarez is watching right now too.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There she is.
And you heard Kathy. About her. You heard about Adrian, right?
I did.
Yeah, so he's getting a lot better, but man, she had a tough couple of months here.
Oh yeah. I was following along.
Took a dive on an electric scooter.
Yeah. Kathy, I do apologize for not saying too much on Facebook, because quite honestly, I didn't know what to say. That was a horrific experience for your whole family. And I will be honest, I was checking your page or your profile on a fairly regular basis just to see what's going on, looking for updates. I had my Facebook set up so that anytime you posted, I got notifications there for weeks. But yeah, I didn't say much on comments because I didn't know what else to say. And I mean, how many times can you say, "Oh, I'm sorry"? But I was following and I was pulling for you and your son. And
yeah, I had to.
Fred, I know he's a band member too.
No, I had to chime in when she, because they only live like 60 miles from me here.
Yeah.
So I felt bad for her because I mean, stuff like that's just devastating.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, especially when it happens to your kid. It's like a kick in a kick.
Well,
so, but yeah, she's tough. She, her and her husband pulled through it. Adrian's getting better, and I'm just hoping somewhere down the line, years to come, they can look back on this and go, that was an experience, but thank God it's done. So,
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. So I'm going to change the subject because
I just had to bring that up. I seen her watching. So
no, absolutely. So you see my shocker.
Yep.
I'm redoing the whole thing. I just haven't fully done it yet. But I don't know. Before, I had just put in wood screws, and they were sticking out, and so all the guns were on the anodization were sitting on these big long screws. So I picked up these. I got a bunch of them like on dirt cheap on Amazon. Check this out. Sorry.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
like a Steve McGuire monologue. Okay.
Exactly. It's a really cheap guitar rack.
Yes,
but they're all covered with foam, and if you squeeze them together, like I think they were like $2 each when I bought them in bulk from Amazon. Put them together, that'll actually fit through the trigger guard. or you
Really?
can open it up and you can hold it different ways.
Set it on there, yeah.
Yeah, and is looking for a way to mount stuff on their board, but I'm pretty excited about these little things
They just
because
screw into the wall?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
not so much the wall. My
Well, whatever. They screw into something.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is the
Oh,
biggest
cool.
disappointment in my whole podcast. I was so excited to make this little wall to put stuff up. Somebody gave me barn boards. These are legit barn boards and not cheap. I didn't pay for them, but they are not cheap. And I got a bunch of them. And I thought, well, why don't I make them? And then what I'm going to do? I'm going to make slats so that I could put a shower curtain in between, and then I've got LED lights behind it, so that I have it set to red because I think it looks the best, but I can change it to any color I want. And I think this is like going to be the best thing ever. And it looks like a damn pallet skin. And I to this day, I get disappointed because I put so much work into trying to make that wall something spectacular,
Right.
and it looks like I'm rocking a pallet.
That looks good, Steve. That's like me. I'd tell you how many jerseys I got, but you'd think I'd be a lion. But
no,
everybody sends me a jersey. And I am so blessed when it comes to that. So I just throw a couple jerseys behind me. Behind the jerseys, I've got jackets. Behind the jackets, I've got two great
shirts,
big
more jerseys.
Yeah, big metal containers that have tons of stuff in. David Bell view loader. When we were in New York, he brought me 14 original view loader T-shirts. So I got
nice.
Yeah. I have got stuff I can't even begin to tell you, but I'm just so grateful for the people that I get to hang out with, and the people I get to talk with, and the people I get to know. And that's one thing I've always said, that I feel blessed for not who I am, but who I get to know. And if it wasn't for paintball, I would not have got to meet some of the most fabulous people that one person could ever be blessed enough to meet, period.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Fred, we have run past an hour, and while I could go on forever, as a general rule, I know that you need naps and snacks.
So you want another half hour? I'll do my monologue. Yeah, I got it.
No, man. If you want to, if there's somebody you want to talk to, be my guest.
No, I just messing with you. I like messing with you. I didn't get to mess with you for a long time, a year and a half. I always checked to see how you were.
Yep.
But I didn't call up and go, hey, screw you for teasing me about my monologue. Now
all right. So everybody that's listening,
Andy Storet's doing it. Everybody else is doing it.
He's lying. He actually called me numerous times, once every month to 2 months.
Yep.
For over a year. I mean, you knew I was coming back for the last few months, so it sort of waned off because you knew I was coming back. But don't anybody believe him? He was actually calling me at least once every month to 2 months just to check up and say hi. That's what kind of a cool guy Mr. Fred is.
Appreciate that, my friend.
Throwing that out.
Appreciate that. And I appreciate you having me on tonight, too.
Yeah. So on that note, goodbye.
I love it. Oh, the power of the finger.
Not that finger.
I got you. Well, Steve, great having you back. I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to jump on your first podcast after like a year and a half here. But it's good to have you back, and I'm looking forward to having you on my podcast. And I'm looking forward to coming back on yours again, my friend.
Well, you know where I am. And by the way, I want to make one last little tidbit. You brought it to my attention that Kenny Stewart of the Paintball
Night at the Museum.
He has a podcast apparently that happens at exactly the same time that happens right now. And I cannot tell you how highly I think of Kenny and how amazing he is and how
Great
amazing the museum is. And I knew that he was doing a podcast, but I've really been trying to focus on getting my life back together. So I wasn't really watching a lot of shows. I don't know what I'm going to do about my time frame with my show because I don't want to go over Kenny, But on the flip side of that, this is the time that I was using for years.
Yep.
And I didn't know where to go, what to do. And if you go on any other day, there are podcasts on every day of the week. So I apologize to Kenny if I stepped on his toes today in any way, shape, or form. I have nothing but respect for you. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this time slot or if I'm going to try to move somewhere else so I'm not sure where things are going to go from this point forward. So there may be some changes and things like that, but I just wanted to take this moment before I shut everything down to give the museum the plug that it deserves, because it is an amazing show run by amazing people. Well, I shouldn't say it's an amazing show because I've never really seen it, but I do know Kenny, and I do
Kenny's
know
a great guy.
Yeah. Exactly. And I there's nothing that I want to do about there's nothing I want to do to try to take away from his glory. But on the flip side of that, this was always my time slot for over 3 years. And so I just came back to my old slot.
There you go.
So
Right
I don't know if I'm going to change in the future or if I'm going to stay where I am, but it has nothing to do with any animosity. There's none of that, because you and I both know, Fred, paintball runs on drama.
It
CO2,
does.
Compressed air,
even if it's
drama.
not there. Yeah.
So
Right on,
I
buddy.
just wanted to publicly state it wasn't intentional. I'm just not sure what I'm going to do, where I'm going to go, and eventually wherever this show time lines up, it's going to land on somebody else's backyard, and I do apologize for that. I just want to have my fun.
Sounds good.
Anyway,
all right,
I'll let you
say
go.
goodbye to everybody. Please play hard, play safe, play fair. Get out there and play some paintball. Thanks again, Steve.
Thank you, Fred. You have no idea how much it meant to me today. Talk to you soon. All right, everybody. That is my show for tonight. Oh, we got Jessica Cortez all the way from Hawaii saying much love to you. Have a great night. Thank you, Jessica. We got Kathy saying, am I planning on doing a weekly podcast? Never mind, just answer the question. Yes, Kathy, I am. And I plan on having real guests on the way I did in the beginning. I plan on going back to that format. And I've already got a couple lined up that are fantastic that I wanted to get on when I was before, and now things are looking good. So pretty excited about that. And yeah. Anyway, guys, I got to be honest, I'm not on my game tonight. It's been a while. And to say that today was an emotional day for me is a complete understatement. None of you have any idea how much I truly missed all of you. Last year, I didn't play a single round of paintball in any way. I got out to see PRZ before it closed, but it was so cold and it was so nasty. I just stayed in the intensity booth and talked with friends and just reconnected with some truly amazing people. And I look forward to doing more of that this year. Starting right now, I plan on playing a lot more locally. I plan on going live from local stuff. I plan on just having fun, be it on the field or on this show. Excuse me. I just want to have fun, and you have no idea how much I missed you all. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble and sound like a bit of a tool, so I'm going to check out at this point. Keep your paint dry, everybody, and as always, play with passion. Have a good night.